In today's show, I'll be breaking down the latest Bitcoin technical analysis as the price action is currently correcting, holding just above 64,000. Also discussing breaking news. The Idaho Republican Party announces it'll protect the right to use Bitcoin and oppose the creation of a CBDC. Let's go. We'll also be discussing breaking news. Tether launches gold back US dollar stablecoin alloy. That's right. We'll also be discussing VanEck to launch the first Bitcoin ETF on Australia's Security Exchange this week. We'll also be discussing much higher than 80,000 per coin, according to the Binance CEO, not CZ, but the new Binance CEO. We'll also be discussing the latest from Jan 3's Samson, who says, I know Bitcoin is going to $1 million per coin. Send it. We'll also be discussing GameStop implementing a Bitcoin treasury strategy would be a brilliant move, pushing the price of the stock to $1,000, according to Max Keiser. And speaking of the high priest, I'm also going to be sharing with you his bullish $3 million price prediction and how he arrived at this particular math. We'll also be taking a look at the overall crypto market. All this, plus so much more, in today's show. If you're new to the channel, very important to smash those likes and subscribe to the #1 Daily Bitcoin Pod. Also hit that bell icon to turn on all notifications. And please do repost this if you're watching the stream over on X, as it helps out tremendously to get more eyeballs on the stream. Today is pod episode number 1674. I'm your host, JV, and it is June 18th, 2024. Markets are correcting. We just hit a new bottom of 64.4, where we're currently at the time of the live stream. But let's check out Coin 360. You can see it's not just Bitcoin, but the entire crypto market correcting and in the red, as you can see on your screen. Ether is back down to 3,400. Solana down to 134 bucks, and even XRP down 6% on the day, trading back at 48 cents. And checking out coinmarketcap.com, the current crypto market cap sits at $2.33 trillion. The Bitcoin market cap is back down to 1.268 trillion. We were above 1.3 trillion for the past few days, but unfortunately, another correction here in the market, as you can see. And checking out the top 100 crypto gainers for the past 24 hours, nada, zero, zilch, nothing in the green virtually. I mean, this is not looking so great, but nonetheless, it's because we're having a mass market correction. And checking out the crypto bubbles to get a visual perspective on the day. Literally, I see one tiny coin called BGB in the green and Leo. Everything else in the red. That means 98% of the market bleeding right now. But Bitcoin's holding its own. It's only down a couple of percent. Some of these alts are down 10, 20 plus percent. And zooming out on the monthly to get a broader perspective, only a handful in the green. I'd say less than 10%. Again, massive losses overall in the crypto sphere. And checking out the Crypto Greed and Fear Index, we're back at that divine number of 74. I love 7s and 4s because if you add them up, it's 11, which is a divine omen, just like 8s and 3s. Just saying. But I digress. Yesterday was a 71, last week it was a 74, and last month it was a 72 in greed. But what we're going to do next is dive into today's Bitcoin technical analysis, check out the charts, where the price action is likely to take us next. And I promise to show you some of the live charts as well here today on TradingView. But this article was just published before I went live, so this is going to be the latest data. Traders unbothered by Bitcoin sub 65,000 level, says the Bitcoin price remains high and steady. That's right, yo. Here you're looking at the daily chart. TradingView showed Bitcoin drop to a 1-month low of 64.2, the current bottom, after losing key support provided by the psychological $65,000 level. Similarly, the total market cap has dropped 2% over the last 24 hours to reset at 2.3 trillion at this time, referring to the total crypto market cap. And we got the Bitcoin market cap back down to 1.2 trillion. The 60% leap in the total trading volume is testimony to the sell side intensity in the crypto market. Bitcoin's dropped below 65,000, which led to massive liquidations across the markets. Data from CoinGlass shows that over the last 24 hours, 61 million worth of long Bitcoin positions have been liquidated against 24 million worth of short liquidations, and approximately 372 million of leveraged long crypto positions were liquidated in the 24 hours against 61.8 million short positions. Despite the poor momentum across the entire crypto sphere led by Bitcoin, analysts are still optimistic about Bitcoin's recovery in the next few weeks. Quoting K33 Research, while the alts have faced a significant long squeeze, Bitcoin leverage remains high and steady. And then we have another analyst, Jelly, who shared the following chart in a post, and the Bitcoin price coiling up in an ascending wedge. According to the analyst, the latest drop has seen the price of the Pioneer crypto reach an area of interest, the wedge's ascending trend line, as he shares here, tapping the 100-day EMA and lower end of the ascending triangle. Bounce here, and my eyes are on 72 G's, baby. Now the current high is 63.8, which we achieved back in mid-March. When do you feel will likely ascend back to this level and re-enter price discovery? Holla at your boy. And also we have another analyst by the name of Mustache. He wrote, Bitcoin, I think, is still forming an inverse head and shoulders pattern. Ideally, the low of the right shoulder is where the left shoulder has found the bottom. After that, we shouldn't see prices below $70,000 for a long time. I would take advantage of this time. And then we have Rec Capital, another analyst, said Bitcoin has been in a constant downtrend throughout June, adding that the price needs to break out of the downtrend to initiate a price reversal. And another analyst, this one by the name of Yada, says a similar pullback happened around the second Bitcoin halving. And next we saw a huge bull rally in 2017. Can you say deja vu? And then we have Dan Crypto Trades. He showed liquidity level of 65 and 66.3 and explained that it could act as a magnet when the price trades close to it. And also we have CoinGlass data indicating that 64.1 is a significant area of bid liquidity just below the spot price with about 47 million in buy orders. And we're on the cusp of testing that right now. Now what I want to share with you is some other breaking news. Then we're going to look at some live charts. Dennis Porter shared huge breaking. The Idaho Republican Party announces it'll protect the right to use Bitcoin and oppose the creation of CBDCs. As you can see here in the rectangle in the blue, we oppose the creation of a central bank digital currency, the regulation and or excessive taxation of decentralized digital currency, such as Bitcoin, and we affirm the right of individuals to engage in commerce and exchange with cash, barter, precious metals, and decentralized digital currencies. They also stated, we recognize the failure of the Federal Reserve System to maintain a sound U.S. dollar and the danger of mercantile banks controlling the issuance of our currency. Preach. So there you have it, family. And now I'm going to share with you some of the live charts. Let's do this charting live and in the flesh, which is always fun. So you should be able to see on your screen here, this is TradingView. You're looking at the 4-hour chart. It's all charted out for you. You can see the targets. We're currently sitting above 64.5 at the time of the live stream. As per Coinbase, the Coinbase exchange, we do have a big fat red target showing at 71,200 here on the 4-hour chart. And we do have a target to the bottom in the red as well, showing at $60,500. Now let's look at the, maybe we'll look at the 1-hour chart here. And we'll check out some of the other targets. So on the 1-hour chart, we do have a big target as well, sitting at a roughly $71,200. And we're going to zoom in a little bit more. This is a live chart right now from TradingView family via Coinbase. Here's the 15-minute chart, so you can get different perspective. And we still have that big red target to the upside of 71.2. And we're going to zoom in just a little bit more. Let's go to the 5-minute chart. And you can see we do have a target to the downside in the orange, sitting at 63,700. So it seems the line in the sand psychologically, to me, is going to be 60,000. Clearly, if we break below that support, who knows how much lower we can go from there, but hopefully 60,000 holds strong. We'll soon see. So that's why you guys got to let me know when you feel we'll likely hit the bottom. Do you think the bottom is currently in, or do you think we have lower to go? Holla. Our next story is this breaking news regarding Tether. Check this out. The headline here reads, Tether launches gold-backed US dollar stablecoin Alloy. That's right. Check it. Tether is introducing a gold-backed stablecoin pegged to the US dollar. It is the first tethered asset the issuer declared. The new coin is coined Alloy, AUSDT, and is mintable on the new Alloy by Tether platform. And according to the company, Alloy will be over-collateralized by Tether Gold, XAUT, a token that provides ownership of physical gold, but pegged to the US dollar. By definition, the new token is a synthetic dollar, which is designed to mimic the value and functionality of the US dollar without being directly backed by it. Now, Alloy explained in the next post that tethered assets are digital assets that aim to track the reference price of another asset through different stabilization mechanisms, quoting them here. Alloy by Tether provides long-term hodlers the opportunity to maintain exposure to gold, while in parallel obtaining a dollar reference tethered asset for payments and day-to-day economy. What are your thoughts surrounding this, fam? Let me know. Now, in the same thread, the organization said that other tethered assets, including yield-bearing products, could be created on the platform, as well as the Tether, CEO Paolo shared right here. The synthetic dollar can be minted by depositing XUSDT through a smart contract and price oracles. Thus, users can make transactions with AUSDT while retaining their gold-backed tethered asset. Now, AUSDT was developed by Tether subsidiaries Moon Gold and Moon Gold El Salvador. Alloy by Tether will become part of the real-world asset tokenization platform launching later this year, said the Tether CEO. Meanwhile, Tether's AUSDT is not the first synthetic dollar. In August of 2022, Galloy introduced a Bitcoin-based synthetic dollar called StableSats on the Lightning Network. How many of you have heard of StableSats? I've never heard of that myself, so let me know. However, the synthetic dollar as a popular asset form came to prominence when startup Athena Labs introduced its Ether-backed dollar peg USDE in February. The launch was met with some skepticism. Asymmetry provided a variation on the concept with an algorithmically balanced synthetic dollar back in June. One analyst compared USDT favorably to USDE and other stablecoins due to Tether's high liquidity and smarter decision-making and less principal agent risk thanks to its centralized control. Tether has sweetened the deal on the new asset by offering USDT holders a bonus at a 2-to-1 ratio and has set aside 10 million AUSDT for this purpose. So there you have it. Let me know your thoughts surrounding Tether launching their gold-backed US dollar stablecoin, Alloy. Now, personally, I like Tether and USDT, hence why, they set up shop in El Salvador. Even El Salvador recommends them. I believe Tether USDT is also legal tender in El Salvador, obviously. Now, let me know your thoughts surrounding all of this. I think it's actually a very interesting concept. Let's discuss this Australia ETF launch in here. Okay, so American investment management firm VanEck is set to launch the first spot Bitcoin ETF on Australia's securities trading platform this week. According to the official announcement from the asset management company, the spot Bitcoin ETF will go live on the Australian Securities Exchange Thursday, June 20th, which would mean Thursday, 2 days from now. Let's go. Where my Aussies at? Holla at your boy. VanEck is one of the issuers of the spot Bitcoin ETFs in the US. The firm's product, VanEck Bitcoin Trust, with the ticker HODL, held over 529 million in assets under management at this time, with a market cap of 660 million. The approval of the VanEck ETF in Australia comes 5 months after the US SEC greenlit the launch of the HODL on exchanges alongside other ETFs issued by top asset managers such as BlackRock, ARK Invest, Grayscale, Fidelity, and Bitwise. VanEck said that it has been in talks with the Australian regulators about launching a spot Bitcoin ETF in the country since early 2021. The firm claims to be the first entity to submit an application with the ASX to launch the ETF and work with the Australian Securities and Investment Commission on the product's mechanics. And due to the regulatory hurdles, exchange framework challenges, and the lack of approval from the ASIC, VanEck resubmitted its app for the VBTC launch in February. And upon launch, the asset manager claims VBTC will be the lowest cost Bitcoin ETF in Australia. Quoting them here, Bitcoin's evolution continues to transform with regulated access through the ETF, now a reality in the US, marking a significant step in its global acceptance. Despite hurdles to clear in Australia, including regulatory and exchange framework challenges along with ASIC approval, VanEck intends to lead the way in bringing the first Bitcoin ETF to ASX investors. Now, it is worth mentioning that the VanEck Bitcoin ETF is not the first of its kind in Australia. That's right. Other investment managers, including Monochrome Asset Management and crypto exchange traded products issuer 21 Shares, have both launched similar products on different securities exchanges. As reported earlier in the month, Monochrome Bitcoin ETF with the ticker IBTC is the first kind of this because it does not just offer investors direct exposure to the crypto asset, but directly holds its Bitcoins in an offline device, aka cold storage. Now, I think the majority of the asset managers in the States are using custodian Coinbase to store and protect their crypto. I think there's only one major asset manager, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's Fidelity. I think they're a $4.5 trillion asset manager. They're self-custodying their biddies, while BlackRock and the rest of them are all using Coinbase. So there you have it. Let me know if anyone here in Australia has any exposure to these ETFs, or anyone even here in the United States. If you have exposure to any of the ETFs, let me know how it's going. Anyways, next story of the day, we're going to be discussing an 80,000 plus target from the new Binance CEO, not CZ, the new Binance CEO. Then we'll be discussing the latest from Samson Mao with his $1 million Bitcoin price prediction, followed by the latest from the high priest of Bitcoin, Max Keiser, on why he believes Bitcoin is likely to hit $3 million per coin, tapping into a $400 trillion total addressable market, with Bitcoin allocation being just 1%. And then we'll dive into our live Q&A. Welcome everyone just joining the stream. Pump the likes, pump the stream. Let's freaking go. So yeah, the new Binance CEO, Richard Teng, is revealing his latest predictions as Bitcoin hovers in the mid 60 range. In a new interview with the Bankless YouTube channel, Teng predicts that Bitcoin will soar past 80 Gs before the year's end. His prediction for 2025 is for Bitcoin and other digital assets to have an even better year than 2024 due to improving macroeconomic conditions. So it sounds like he believes new all-time high by the end of this year in the 80s, and then next year we blow past that and we hit the cycle peak, right in alignment with many analysts' predictions, thinking 2025 is the year we peak out of the cycle. He also says the approval of the Bitcoin ETF earlier in the year and the expected approval of ETFs for Ethereum, which they're now saying July 2nd, could go live in 2 weeks, could continue to drive more liquidity into the crypto markets from traditional finance institutions and propel the bull market cycle even higher. Quoting him here from the interview, I think 2025 is going to be an even better year than 2024 for the crypto industry in general, because the general macroeconomic condition will be much better. We are probably going to see an interest rate reduction towards the end of the year. There's going to be a much better macroeconomic environment, much more enlightened interest rate environment. So I think all of those will boost the crypto prices even further in 2025. So my base prediction at the end of 2023 was 80,000 for Bitcoin at the end of 2024. But what I didn't predict was the strong, robust inflows from the institutions after the launch of the Bitcoin ETF. I didn't expect the ETF to be approved so quickly, so early on in the year. My prediction for the ETF approval was possibly towards the end of 2024 or even 2025. I have changed my Bitcoin prediction because of that. My price for end of this year is much higher than 80,000. So much higher, but he goes on to say, I'm not going to give you the price, but it is much higher, keyword much higher, than my base price from the end of last year, which again was 80,000. And I think next year will be a much better year compared to this year. That's my view. You have seen a lot of analysis or analysts coming out, including from Standard Chartered, to say that by next year, Bitcoin should reach 200,000. If there is a squeeze, it should reach 250,000, which is $250,000 per biddy. So I think there is still some room to grow, both for Bitcoin as well as for tokens such as Ethereum. That ETH ETF has just been approved. Again, with all of this approval of ETFs, it brings new liquidity, new user pools. I mentioned $15 billion has flown into the Bitcoin ETFs since the beginning of the year and after the approval. And that's very robust. And we'll continue to see pretty robust institutional demand on that front. And that is really beneficial, very beneficial for the crypto community. So there you have it. And to watch this actual interview he did with the new Binance CEO and his predictions on crypto, check the show notes below the video in the description. And where do you feel? I know he is obviously not very clear on how high, but he says it'll go much higher than his base case. Where would you project that to be, considering his base case was 80,000 for the end of this year? I'm going to hypothetically say he's intending to say 100,000, but just don't want to put it out there, trying to be conservative. But what are your thoughts, family? Our next story of the day is the latest from Samson Mao and his 1 million Bitcoin price prediction. Then we'll be diving into the latest from the high priest of Bitcoin, Max Keiser, predicting 3 million per coin. I'll break down the math and why he believes that's likely to occur. And then we'll dive into our live Q&A as we continue to pump. Sound good? So yeah, here we go. Mr. Samson Mao, shout out to the CEO right here of Jan3. Here we go. Samson Mao, renowned Bitcoin maxi and CEO of Jan3. How many of you know the significance of that company name? As Jan3 is a significant date in Bitcoin. And let me know in the chat why January 3rd is so significant. And at the end of the story, we'll discuss it. So anyways, he just recently shared and tweeted again that he expects Bitcoin to reach 1 million per unit. That's right, quoting him verbatim. I know Bitcoin is going to $1 million. Let me know if you agree with that sentiment. Samson Mao is a well-known Bitcoin maxi for his predictions, which we often cover here on the show. He believes Bitcoin will inevitably reach $1 million. In fact, this year, Mao doubled down on his prediction, anticipating the fourth Bitcoin halving that took place in the second half of April. I believe it was on the 19th. Prior to that, when the January SEC officially gave the green light to trade the spot Bitcoin ETFs, these ETFs began to accumulate Bitcoin like crazy. And every day, Mao stated multiple times that those purchases would eventually create a Bitcoin demand shock. That's right. And as for the halving, he said that once the block rewards are cut in half, once again, in which now they officially are, it'll create a Bitcoin supply shock. The conclusion Mao took from this was that once the demand and the supply shocks meet, they will propel the Bitcoin price as high as 1 million per coin, or even higher. Now, on Monday, Mao tweeted that he knows for sure the Bitcoin is going to 1 million per coin. However, there are two nuances. He cannot predict for certain when it will happen and how quickly Bitcoin will skyrocket onto that new all-time high of 7 figures. So about a week ago, Mao also shared that the Bitcoin coil seems very much compressed now, and the longer the Godzilla candle does not appear, and the higher the odds that Bitcoin will jump up with an omega candle. Now, an omega candle would take us, obviously, to a whole new stratosphere as far as price action is concerned. He even agreed that one night the market may go to sleep with Bitcoin trading at 70,000, and then we wake up to hitting 200,000 per coin. I mean, that would be the result of an omega candle. I mean, we can get $100,000 in a single daily candle would be insane. And quoting Sentiment Analytics, Bitcoin hodlers have just had their biggest 3-day drop in non-empty wallets since just prior to the March 14th all-time high. Unlike then, Bitcoin has been sliding, provoking traders to liquidate for fear of further drops. Meanwhile, Ethereum wallets keep growing in number. This is likely the result of the recent Bitcoin consolidation, as hodlers have been selling, fearing bigger prices, plummeting and reaching even lower levels. But what are your thoughts on all of this? Now for our feature story of the day, let's discuss the latest from the high priest of Bitcoin, Max Keiser. He recently made a very bullish price prediction, which I transcribed from an interview. Him predicting Bitcoin hitting 3 million, as well as breaking down the math on how we're likely to get there, and also breaking news as well. He also shared that if we do this GameStop Bitcoin allocation, and they actually put the biddies on the balance sheet, it can drive the stock price up to $1,000. You know what I mean? So we're going to be discussing all this right now. But first, let's start with some of the recent tweets. I want to start right here. And this is transcribing a interview from Max Keiser that he recently shared. So how big is the global market? It's like $400 trillion, referring to the total addressable market. So what if Bitcoin just gets 1% of that market, the total addressable market? Well, then it's 1 million, 2 million, or $3 million per Bitcoin. And I think a couple of things we are going to see happen. Number one, people will no longer accept fiat money for BTC. So you're going to try to buy Bitcoin with your fiat money, and no one will take your fiat money. No one will take your dollars at all. So that will be the moment of panic. You have no choice because the fiat money world and everything that's not Bitcoin is going to zero against Bitcoin. So if you're not in Bitcoin, whatever you're in is going to zero against Bitcoin. And that includes everything, real estate, precious metals, you name it. He also recently shared, in which I transcribed, Iran already got 3% of the global hash rate. So now I think Venezuela will get 3 to 5% pretty quickly. And then at some point, America will say, we've got to enter the 21st century space race of mining Bitcoin, and then they'll try to seek 20% of the hash rate. Then security goes up dramatically, and the price then goes to 400,000, 500,000 per coin. He's been referencing global hash wars for quite some time, and now that you got Trump discussing Bitcoin and this becoming a major topic at the next presidential debate scheduled to take place, I believe, November 5th or whatever, this is a pretty big deal. I mean, what if America said we need to capture 20% of the hash rate, and there is just a global hash war breaking out like we're already seeing in countries around the world? It's going to drive the Bitcoin price up tremendously. Quick shout out to Mr. Bone Daddy. He just gifted 5 memberships of the to the following: Erstats, Richard Jones, Russell Mahoney, Jacob, and Pat Welch. You've all been hooked up with the MicroStrategy membership of the channel. On behalf of Bone Daddy, we greatly appreciate your giving. Thank you so much. Now that you're a member of the channel family, your names are going to be green, and you're going to have a star icon next to your name. Every month, that icon is going to change color. Now you get priority commenting and recognition there in the chat. So we greatly appreciate all the support. Give it up for Mr. Bone Daddy for hooking it up. That's very kind of you, broski. But anyways, back to some of these predictions. Now, also, This headline reads, GameStop implementing a Bitcoin treasury strategy would be a brilliant move and can push their stock to $1,000. Now, you know, Roaring Kitty, he did this huge stream, you know, I don't know, maybe a week ago, had over 650,000 live concurrent viewers on there, which is mind boggling. And I think if the stock price only hit $60, that would have turned his unrealized profit in his position to literally $1 billion, which is, you know, mind boggling. And now, let me see if I can refresh the article because I don't know what happened. It just like kicked me off. I can't see the contents. So it's like, you need to register to see it. Damn it. I was just reading. I was just looking at it for free. Anyways, if they want to be like that, be like that. I'm just going to read you some of the highlights. Max Keiser sparks a buzz with a bold $1,000 price target for GameStop if it follows MicroStrategy's Bitcoin playbook. Crypto trader commended the advice as being brilliant move for GameStop. And let's just discuss that for a few moments. So yeah, GameStop is very cash heavy right now. If they were to hypothetically put, let's say, $1 billion to $5 billion, whatever their market cap is, and back it with Bitcoin as a strategic, as Max puts it here, as a, what's the term he used? As a Bitcoin treasury strategy, it could be a brilliant move and it can send the stock price soaring more than 10x, right? Because 10x would just be probably, what is that, $300 stock price, but he's saying 1,000, so maybe 20x, 25x, whatever the exact numbers are. I don't know. But I think MicroStrategy, well, I know, was the first publicly traded company to put the Bitcoin on the balance sheet. This was back in 2020. It was a genius move. And Michael Saylor looked at it as the only way to save his company because they were burning so much capital because they're cash heavy due to inflation and keeping anything in the bank. It's like a melting ice cube as he described it, right? So he put the Bitcoin on the balance sheet as a strategic move, and MicroStrategy has been blowing up. I think they now have roughly, I don't know at this current time, but the other day when I read their numbers, I think they were worth roughly 15 billion worth of Bitcoin. So obviously massive gains. And he just recently announced purchasing another 700 million through a convertible note, which is probably in the process of happening right now during this dip. So we already know the smart money is going to continue to accumulate sats because that's what the whales, AKA the smart money, do. Now, other companies have also put the biddies on the balance sheet. You had Tesla, you had SpaceX, you know, Elon's companies. Now, granted, Elon sold the majority of those biddies from Tesla, which was a massive mistake because he'd be up so much more if he didn't do that. It is what it is. And there's other countries doing the same thing. There's a Japanese stock, I think it's MetaPlanet, recently announced putting Bitcoin on the balance sheet. And now we have the game theory playing out in states across America doing the same thing. You know what I mean? Like pension funds, retirement funds, and all sorts of stuff. So Bitcoin adoption is ultimately continuing to gain traction, which is a beautiful thing. We also have the institutional FOMO, which wasn't here this time previous cycle, 4 years ago. So the institutional adoption really kicked in this year with the ETFs when they commenced their, ETFs went live on January 11th, 5 months ago. And since then, the ETFs have now collectively accumulated roughly 5% of the Bitcoin circulating supply. Mind-boggling. Over 1 million Bitcoin accumulated through the ETF within 5 months. It took MicroStrategy freaking 4 years since 2020 to achieve 214,000 BTC on their balance sheet. And BlackRock achieved that. They now have like roughly 300,000 Bitcoin, now the largest holder of Bitcoin through Coinbase, of course, their custodian. But they achieved this in 5 months since January 11th. So what BlackRock just achieved took MicroStrategy 4 years. So hypothetically speaking, how much more Bitcoin will be accumulated over the next 4 years, like an entire cycle? It's going to get insane. And Max has also warned us several times that he believes there is a ultimate plot, that they're going to take the Bitcoin ETF BTC, the United States government that is, and confiscate it in the name of national security. So self-custody those biddies if you have the opportunity to do so. Obviously, it's the safest, most secure, and only unconfiscatable way to secure your biddies. You got to keep that in mind. Not your keys, not your coins. So if you're keeping your crypto right now on any of the exchanges, it can be taken from you. What happened previous cycle? FTX, second largest crypto exchange in the world. It had sponsors like Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank, Stephen Curry, Brad Brady, what is his name? Tom Brady. All the big influencers in the world were all promoting FTX. Then what happened? Bankman-Fried, within 24 hours from the time they announced filing Chapter 11 bankruptcy, don't worry, guys. Your funds are completely safe. The exchange is not going anywhere. We're going to be here for you guys. I mean, a few hours later, I'm sorry, guys, we're filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. All the funds on the exchange have been frozen, and nobody gets their crypto, and the investors are still waiting to be repaid back. And when they do get repaid back, hypothetically speaking, if you had one Bitcoin on the exchange, they're only going to be crediting you $16,000. They're not going to return your Bitcoin. They're just going to give you the Bitcoin fiat dollar worth at the bottom of the market, because that's what corrupt mofos do. Unfortunately. So don't keep crypto on the exchange unless you're actively in a trade, and it must be on the exchange. There should be a purpose or reasoning for storing crypto on an exchange, right? Meaning it's actively being traded, maybe. You're missing the boat altogether, because not only can it be confiscated from you if the government wanted it in the name of national security, which can happen down the pipeline, but also something could happen to the exchange. If it can happen to the second largest exchange, it could happen to the number one exchange. It could happen to the third exchange, fifth exchange, 100th exchange. That's why I do not recommend keeping your crypto on the exchanges. Self-custody, way to go. Just saying. What are your favorite self-custody devices? Please do let me know. And what are your thoughts surrounding Bitcoin achieving just a 1%, very modest allocation into a $400 trillion total addressable market, sending Bitcoin to $123 million per coin? And hypothetically speaking, what if Bitcoin achieved 5% allocation? What if Bitcoin achieved 84.9% allocation? I discussed this in yesterday's pod. According to a BlackRock study from 2022, a research report they released, their ideal Bitcoin allocation portfolio recommendation is 84.9%. Hypothetically speaking, if 1% of the total addressable market achieves a $3 million Bitcoin price, what would happen with 85% allocation? Hypothetically speaking, let me know. And when do you feel Bitcoin will finally break that six-figure mark so we can have our fiesta out here in Puerto Rico? Let me know. And when do you feel we'll achieve the seven-figure milestone? My personal prediction is by the year 2029. I have a personal target for this cycle on a low of 222,000 and as a high 750,000 per coin. But I want to know your thoughts. Then I think the following cycle is when we finally break the coveted seven-figure mark. But I want to know your thoughts.